Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Thursday, July 9th, and this is virtual lunch number 84. Haley Altman, welcome. We're very excited to be talking to you today. And thanks to Litera for being the sponsor of today's program.
I'm Haley Altman. I am currently the Global Director of Business Development and Strategy at Litera. I was a practicing attorney for over 10 years, but I left my practice in 2016 to create a company called Doxly to focus on transaction management. I was a transactional attorney. We built the company, worked with different firms, and sold to Litera in 2019. Started as the general manager of transaction management and how are we going to continue the growth of that product space on a global basis, and then moved up in the company to focus on overall strategy. What do we want to do in a broad sense from a workflow perspective? How we want to better engage with customers. I really enjoyed being a lawyer. I actually enjoyed practicing. I liked working with clients. I had a great set. I represented a lot of startups. I represented a lot of scaled up companies because I represented them through their venture capital and growth phases and then in acquisitions. It just got to the point where I just was like, I keep seeing this pain point over and over. And I just kept researching for a year and a half because I was like, no, I'm very happy where I am. I can't. And then I just couldn't find anyone that did it. So I started doing some work on the side, just like building out like kind of a prototype. And because I represented startups, I knew a lot of the engineers and designers in the community. So I started talking about the idea, like, is this even possible to build what I want to do? So then after I made Income Partner, I told the firm. They introduced me to a venture studio, which was a new concept at the time, where they kind of take their own ideas and then they usually make them into companies and find a CEO. I think they thought that if they introduced me to them, then they would take the idea and find a CEO, and then I would be on the board and stay with the firm. So that was the plans. I brought them the idea, pitched it to them like I would pitch like a VC firm, and they liked the idea. So my idea went up against a couple other ideas, and it won. And I had originally said, because I just made equity partner, that I was going to stay at the firm because I couldn't imagine. I had finally got exactly where I wanted to be. And then the thought of giving it over to someone else and not being able to be involved, like I just felt so passionate about it. I literally was driving home after one of our meetings and I was like, I'm going to resign tomorrow. And then I did. I resigned the next day and went on the journey. And then I realized, as much as I had worked with businesses, I had no idea, like, everything that would go into like creating a company. We see a lot as attorneys as to like the pieces that need to come together, like the foundation you need to set and like how the employees come into it. And I knew how to raise venture capital. It was probably the biggest advantage I had of starting a company. But what does a customer success team do? What does marketing mean other than just, getting a website and trying to get someone to cover you and write an article or have you on their podcast? It means so much more. So it was a big, big transition, a big learning curve of understanding like what actually makes a business, like what are those component parts. I did a lot of reading, a lot of talking to business leaders in the community, and everyone said, you focus on understanding what your customer needs and bringing them into what you're building. So I had to learn like what true like constructive criticism and feedback and empowerment. I had to learn what it truly means to delegate and give ownership and empower someone. Here, this is team dynamics 101. Like, I couldn't go to no salary. True startup, we've got this amount of savings, we're going to give this amount of time. So I partnered with a venture studio, which meant I had to give up more of the equity starting. So I had to start at a different standpoint. They put an initial investment the seed stage investment, they put in $500,000 to get us started. If I didn't have the ability to partner with High Alpha, I probably would have continued to build it on my own while working. I went from founding a company to a successful exit in 3 years, and I don't imagine it could be that fast if I hadn't partnered with High Alpha. They gave me part-time CFO from High Alpha. They helped with hiring. They helped with so many things that helped set the foundation that as an attorney, I didn't know. Working with people that can help you make your vision a reality is incredible, but you have to really understand who you're going to be working with, what the value is that they're going to add, but also try to think about where there may be kind of disconnects at some point. We started raising in July and I closed the round in August, and we were oversubscribed. And we didn't get every investor that we had pitched to, but we got like 90% of them. So we selected a group. We were really careful about who we selected. Before we started pitching to anyone, I did these networking events that I knew they would all be at, and I stayed till the end and spent extra time talking to them before I was looking for investment. And I built a relationship. So then when we went to go for the investment, I crafted a really careful story as to like why this would be super valuable and why they should invest. So we raised 2.3 million in like 30 days without a product. We looked at a lot of other startups and we looked for what would complement my skill set. We didn't hire a chief product officer first because the subject matter expertise I held. So we tried to find the people that would fill the gap. So someone that understood customer success and adoption was one of the first hires in addition to engineering. But yeah, I mean, I read a lot. I listened to podcasts, and then I just met with a lot of people in the community that I respected that had been successful. And now it's being renamed as Litera Transaction. But Doxly is a transaction management platform. So as a deal attorney, you're helping, a company raise capital, and you've got to track down all the different documents that go into the capital raise, as well as creating all of the signature pages for every investor. So you've got to manage all of the different documents. What document version are you on? Who's responsible for moving the item forward, as well as tracking down every signer. And so we built a system that allows you to kind of manage the deal in one space. So everyone can see where the documents are, who has the responsibility moving forward. And then we can track in real time where every signature page is. And then we take out all the steps of printing and collating. And we try to bring automation to a lot of the administrative tasks that are in a deal all the way through the closing books. So we had to first build and create our bona fides from a security perspective. So we focused a lot on making sure that we could say this is the secure aspects of the platform. And then we had to build the brands from a thought leadership perspective. So we worked on ways to do small pilots with firms. And so as an attorney, I had worked with different firms over my career. So I would reach out to them, sometimes the low cost pilot, because I wanted them to be bought into it. If I did it for free all the time, then they wouldn't necessarily be using it in the same way. So we had to get creative in terms of how we sold to get initial usage. And so we went to some smaller firms, we went to some mid-sized firms, but our inbound interest was a lot of the time coming from large law. It's trying to be creative, finding ways to get the feedback that you need from some customers. And so we did have some unpaid ones from firms that we knew would give us the feedback. There is money out there. I've talked to other legal tech founders that are looking to raise capital. Those investors that are willing to deploy capital right now are looking to see that there is some revenue, some level of product use. So they want stuff that's going to be a little less risky. Now, the investors are in a decent position where they can actually dictate the terms a little bit if the revenue's on the lower side. I've seen some unfriendly valuations where the valuations before the pandemic were actually really starting to go up. I think capital is still there. It's just potentially not as early as it had been. So now my role is to look at companies and technology and evaluate them from our perspective as to what we're going to acquire. We are actively looking. I mean, we bought Best Authority not too long ago. Then we bought Best Practice. I think people are still looking for acquisitions. For me, there's like inflection points in your company's career as to when you can really sell. I have learned more about leadership, like true leadership, in the almost year that it's been since the sale to Litera than I did in the 3 years when I was trying to run things. I had a great board with great experience. I mean, Scott Dorsey was on my board. I mean, like he took a company from zero and sold it for 2.5 billion. Like I had fantastic mentors and advisors, but they weren't day to day in the company with me. I didn't have a co-founder. So I never had someone that I could like really bounce ideas off of and that would really challenge like in the day-to-day context. So flip over to Litera, and Avanish is like the best CEO. Like it's amazing. When we went through the acquisition process and we were deciding, I just had a gut feeling. I like literally told the board, I was like, I want to sell to Litera. I have such a good feeling about them and what they're doing. What's been awesome is like he's a lawyer as well, but he has such understanding of the pain, and he really wants to deliver things that like the people he's worked with will find valuable. He understands the industry. He gives you the freedom to just have ideas, but he like empowers you. He's taught me so much, but he also has like great operational instincts of like how to like just get things done. Like how do you just move things forward? So I've learned so much.
Thanks so much to Litera for being a great sponsor here, and to Haley Altman, everybody. Wonderful.